grows. Watch my cone pop up in rows. Every night be tucked in close to you. Raise our kids where the good Lord's best. Rockin' chest towards the west. Playing our dreams where the faithful. Where the green grass grows. Hello, good evening, everybody. Business as usual, back on desk here this evening, but running behind. So, haven't ran through scans yet. I will go through my watch list of names and just kind of catch up this evening on what's going on today. Make sense out of the madness. And then we will do our best to get some names prepared for tomorrow. So, CoreWeave, I've stopped out on this one twice now. I'm not going to keep trying to trade it. I had bought this day and then got stopped out into this wick. It ripped back. I rebought this breakout here, and I bought the break over prior day's highs. It broke out through these double top and came back all the way into close. This was just a random reactive trade. Everything was rolling over in pre-market. But this was the long through prior day's highs, stop at lows, and it completely unwound. If you look at something like just this, push, pull, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, high a day break into noon, afternoon, this looks really good. So I am no longer going to keep trying to buy that ticker. NUAI, I kind of pissed myself off with this one. Treating this one here as a breakout, multi-day run. Someone had mentioned it for that first red day yesterday. I did play it a little bit. Let me see here. Right here, we got this pullback, pop, double top, and then I was short all through here. We got the low a day break. It started to roll over, and I was all done throughout here right before the swipe, but barely made anything. It didn't have much range. So then going into today, assuming everyone had that same idea, it ran up, pulled back, but didn't continue lower and was holding in the upper end of its range. So I treated this little 110s breakout as a multi-day breakout, and I bought the opening range highs in that 115 break, risk on lows, and started to sell some into some pops, locking in with the plan to add on dips. I did start to rebuy, and I set my stop at low a day. And then as it kept pulling back, I was looking to get off desk, and I'm like, if this continues to pull back, I felt like I was smarter than the market, and I put my stop basically at what would be a break-even stop, basically losing this realized and then taking a loss on the ads, and it literally stopped me out dead bottom. And then by the time I checked back a couple hours later, it was right back to highs, and I was frustrated beyond belief. So I bought some with risk down towards these lows, filled the rest of the position, still risking these lows, and then bought a little bit there in after hours, moving risk up to this 115 that held into after hours. So currently still swinging a position. For me to short it, I would like it to speed up closer to 2. We've now built over this level and over this level. So I think like upper, 180 to 220 is in the cards. If we don't gap up, this thing hasn't gone red since the 40 cents. So if this isn't green, I will just move on. DVLT, this one here was a pretty nice one. It was on the watch list a couple days ago. From being a percent gainer, it broke out here and was one to keep on watch if it held up, and sure enough, it did. Exactly what we look for here on the T+1s, where it consolidates above its prior day's VWAP, and then a break of that looking left trigger. So I bought some on the opening range high break, risk versus lows, and all through here there was no reason to sell, just chopping higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, never even breached VWAP. And then right here you start getting some volume come in, some speed up into that whole $0.50 spot. So I locked it all in there into the 104s. There was some news there in after hours. I'll have to look at what it was. I'm not 100% sure yet, but obviously some news came out there. But I have no position. Looks like I traded some Oklo. Oh yeah, that was the panic. Big multi-day runner, and then started to panic in pre-market. Most of the large caps did. And we got some speed up, a big flush candle that got absorbed. So I bought using this kind of 107s, 108s. One low a day was too far, so was using here, and it popped a little, but I didn't make much on it. OPAD lost a little bit on that one, not a ton. Shorted some in pre right before the open, let it test. We got a low a day break, shorting pops, and it stayed firm, didn't stay heavy under lows, so I covered. Open, same thing, shorting the opening range lows. Oh, that was another one from yesterday. That was the first green day idea. Ideally, I wanted the gap down 680s, but we gapped up and then flushed. And then you got the week open right here. Pull back. I started buying some in here. I had stopped some under here, unfortunately. So by the time it was starting to pop back, I just sold it randomly because I was a bit frustrated with not sticking to my low a day plan. But I was in there risking like 15 cents, and it ended up going to that 880s target, which was really nice. But then coming into it today, started to fail off those 880s. Opening range lows, didn't stay heavy, so moved on. And then RGTI was the other one. Quantum names, those things went on an absolute tear. Today was the first daily bar to make new lows. So I leaned on that one on the VWAP fail. Let it push out, failed to follow through. And then we got this little reversal candle, so I covered that one there. So amongst all of these, like RGTI, Oklo were the smaller winners, and then they kind of canceled out the core weaves, OPADs, and opens. So if I did nothing else but trade DVLT today, I would have been better off in a lot clearer head. But it is what it is. So we'll see how New A works tomorrow. Hopefully it just gaps up and rips. LEU, see, I was dip buying Oklo on the panic. That did bounce a little bit, but obviously LEU was the one. Pulled back all the way to 260s and a 50-point rip. Steady highs, absolutely insane. So anyone who's still swinging that one, congrats. It pulled back to the 10-day right there in the 260s, and looks like that thing's heading higher. Navini, I'm not losing this one off radar. It's tightening up and holding up pretty decent here in the upper end of its range. Would need this sort of wedge to break. So far, this 120s. It flushed under it here, but came right back. And then you've got this low, and this low. So if it loses those 120s, it probably pulls back a little bit. But I would look for it to continue to hold and then build 140s. What else? SLNH, I don't hate this look where we had this big multi-day run. I shorted this one here on its first red day yesterday, I believe. Trying to remember how I traded it. Oh, no, I didn't actually. I didn't trade it because it went straight up. I was looking for pops into that 240s was the plan on this day. And it went straight up through it and then pulled back and reclaimed it right away. So I actually didn't even touch that one yesterday for the first red day. It didn't stay heavy once it went red. So I let that one be. But anyone who was shorting that first red day move got popped, and now we're holding in the upper end of its daily range. Looks like it could be possible liquidity trap, prior resistance, now becoming support. This 340s, 350s area would be key. That one's starting to fail. Atch. Backside, multi-day bounce. Hopefully that one goes higher. Multi-day into resistance would be good. LAC. Continuing higher. Don't need to watch these anymore. They're a pain in the butt. Saw this one here briefly. I just saw it mentioned in a chat room. 20 cents to 50 cents. Going gap to gap to gap. Hasn't gone red yet. Gapped. Closed below its open but didn't go red. So then its close was here and then it pulled back and held the prior day's close. So ideally another gap and go tomorrow. What else we got here? Definitely been taking it slower this week. Not as gung ho. Not the cleanest setups out there. And a lot of these multi-day runners are that theme trades, the large caps and quantum basket. And quantums have never been an easy trade. Just running through some scans here, see if I find anything else. Otherwise, I will just stick to those few long setups that I have on watch. NBIS has been clean. I haven't. What's clean about that thing? What kind of daily is that? I don't know how to trade that. Yeah, I have no idea how to trade that. That looks like a choppy mess. Wanted to ask about your tweet the other day talking about inversely proportionate versus directly. Yeah, that was about ease of movement. The picture was on Atch, and I think I had mentioned it on BMNR at one point as well. So something like Atch, you can see it goes from 20 cents to $1.80. Goes on a multi-day move, 2-day move, 1-day consolidate, and squeeze out. On this day that had the most range intraday, it went from 90 cents to $1.80. It traded 250 million shares, call it, and it ran basically 100%. It made a 90-cent move on a 90-cent name. And it only took 250 million shares. Now here, yesterday, it traded 500 million shares. And look at this candle. It went from 50 cents to 70 cents. It traded 20 cent range on a 50 cent name. That's like 25 would be half. That would be a third. So you'd be like a 40% move on that one. Moving 20 cents on a 50 cent name, I think that's around 40% compared to 100%, and it only moved 20 cents. You can see even just the size of the candles and how much more effort it took. Effort being the volume, and then the result being these candles. So that ease of movement, and BMNR did the same thing. So I felt like it was notable because I'm not looking along this anymore at this point. And when I backpedaling here, but ease of movement relates to like the share structure, where a lot of times once you just watch stocks trade, you can kind of gauge their rough like float, not to an exact science, but roughly. You know, this one's a 5 million float, this one's a 100 million float. And you can gauge their ease of movement, how much supply is out there. And clearly since these days, and you can tell because it went from 180 straight down to 40 cents. Just gap down, fade, gap down, fade, gap down, fade. So there's some sort of supply here. It could have been sellers, it could have been shorts, it could have been anything. But now that this has happened where it trades 500 million shares and can't do this, now that tells me that there was paper sold here and the share structure has changed. That the float has increased because its ease of movement is no longer the same. Same thing with BMNR. Over here, it didn't bounce because this was dilution. This was offering news. So it went on a huge multi-day run. It only traded 30 million shares each day, and it ran $50 to $150. It tripled. And then over here, it's trading 150 million shares. So it's trading triple the volume, and the daily candles are moving $10 a share instead of 100. So the ease of movement, it takes a whole bunch more effort for very little result. So I just think it's a good concept to note when you're either looking to bounce things or looking to play breakouts. Something like DVLT, the ease of movement, it traded comparable volume. You like to see it trading good volume, but it traded even less volume and had better range today. Something like NUAI. Like, look at this big body candle, $1 to $1.40, $1.50, where over here it was trading the same volume, 70, 80 million shares, and the candles are just a lot smaller. So I just think it's a good concept. That's why I mentioned it, and I hope that makes sense. Okay, not a ton on there. My scans aren't super full, which I think bodes well for my smaller watch list. D-Fly starting to curl back. Ooh. Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. Notable. A-Bat gap down. That gap down and flush across like a ton of names today was just so weird. All the market faded, and I shouldn't say it's weird. I mean, we're on an absolute tear. It's not weird, it's expected. But what I find weird is how hard it can fade, and it just V-shapes recoveries. Like everything, it doesn't matter what it is. It pulls back, pulls back, pulls back, and boom. RGTI pulls back, pulls back, pulls back, blows out, pulls back, and then boom. It's just insane. And then CoreWeave did the exact opposite. Pulled back, pulled back, pulled back, pushed, held, looked like relative strength, and then completely retraced. There's such a weird dynamic in these large caps and market-related names. Definitely a change in quote-unquote like how easy they were, where they just trend on a breakout. Good. I'm glad it made sense. There's little tidbits like that when a lot of times you'll kind of emulate a trader, so to speak. And you can for the most part, but you take bits and pieces from everybody. And that's one of those things that the guy, Johnny Mack, he used to be in IU and do review sessions and stuff. He had good conversation. He replied on that Twitter post and was like, "Hey, where'd you hear that from?" And I think he was like the first one that kind of sparked the the idea, where he would call it effort versus result, which you could use in, and I think he learned from like Wyckoff and stuff like that. Like he read other books and Mark Minervini and that sort of thing. Um, and then you'd see someone like Nate talk about a clear out move, where you'd see a ton of effort go into the offer. It blows out high a day, and the result is muted, and it slams back down. And it's it's the same kind of ideas. It's just everybody calls it different things, but everyone looks for the similar idea. Stan and I have talked about it a bunch. We started talking about it in IU when BM&R, where I was talking about like the effort needed and the volume not matching it. The ease of movement. Not a ton else hitting my radar here. I see a lot of gap downs, a lot of reclaims. Just don't see a ton of clean trends. So anything that is holding up and looking fairly clean. I saw Ariel mention Costco, and that daily is starting to roll over a little bit. I don't know how easy that fade is going to be, but it's below its 50-day. It's below its 200-day. And if it loses the support level, it could get hit. But if this got hit, I would rather not short it and just buy it in my long-term account. Better. That was that Pumpers stock pick. It's not really doing much anymore. Completely unlike open. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see much on there. Let's go to my next scan. ADAP pulled back a bit too much now. I'll just set some price alerts on that one up near 20 cents. No need to watch it anymore. Boring. Yeah, so doesn't look like a ton. Like CYCU, I'd like that one to keep going. Ideally just runs on Friday and then can trade it next week. Atch, same kind of thing. Ideally this just runs tomorrow. Maybe gets up here. When I was looking for a bounce up towards like 140. So if this could get in that 120 to 140 range, I'd like that for a short. Hopefully NUAI just gaps up and squeezes and I don't have to worry about it. So we will see. DVLT, that one's holding up. No plan on that one anymore. SLNH, if that starts building 350s, I don't hate the breakout look on that one. Navini, if that starts building 140s, I don't hate the breakout look on that one. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like Lou, I don't have an entry anymore. Open's just getting a bit too choppy. Over under, it's rejecting this prior resistance, but it's just not super clean, so I'll probably just leave it be. So main watches are probably, well, it's definitely New Eye, his main watch. And then back burner for shorts would be Saisu and Atch. And then other long ideas is SLNH and Navini. But they're all waiting for triggers and stuff to set up. So it's not like this is the one. So the only one I'm watching is this one right now just because I have a position. And then the other ones just got to wait for them to trigger. So nothing crazy. But that's what I got, guys. That's what I got. You could check out the Investors Underground Twitter page. they posted the plan on this one. Judah had talked about it on broadcast this morning. And then Judah and Chris were walking through the trade plan and levels and idea on it. I did the same thing with Atch, where I had the same idea going into it this day, and then just seeing other good traders align with my thesis just adds to the conviction. And helps me execute the trade idea. So you can check out those comments on their Twitter page. But anyways, you bet, guys, not a problem. Happy to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, making it engaging on my end. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I will see you in the room or on the next live stream. Peace.